Hello, welcome to the Edmunds CarCast podcast. I'm Matt, the moderator, DeAndrea, here with Alistair Weaver. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Matt. I'm good. Had a bit of sleep after car week, but still kind of working through all the backlog of news and everything else. It was such a mega event, and I know we're going to talk more about it today.
More car week stuff, and then this morning I just took delivery of a press car, sort of the anti-car week. I They just delivered Ford Ranger Raptor.
Oh, I like that truck.
I
That's
do,
a
yeah,
that's a nice because it's not too big. It's a nice performance truck. It's fun. You'll
yeah.
enjoy it.
I think it's gonna be fun. I gotta go find some dirt.
I turned up at a Lamborghini, not a Lamborghini. I'm going to talk about Lamborghini. I turned up at the McLaren party in Beverly Hills somewhere that I got it, happened to get it, like an owner's party that I happened to
Yeah.
blag an invite to, and I turned up in a Ranger Raptor, and I looked unique. Everybody else had Ferraris and Lamborghinis and McLarens, and I turned up in a Ranger Raptor. I looked very cool.
It's interesting. So you mentioned McLaren, but the Lamborghini and Porsche,
Bugatti,
right?
Porsche,
Porsche, sorry, doing their off-road versions like the Dakar and what's the Lamborghini version?
the oh god, don't put me on the spot. I've driven it as well, and I can't remember what it's called. It'll
Syrah?
come to me.
Yeah.
Keep talking. I'm googling it.
I forgot what it was called, but we know like Ford has been all in on the off-road stuff with all the Raptor versions of the cars of the vehicles, and
Sterato, Hurricane Sterato.
there you go. And I remember talking to Jim Farley a year ago, going, "What are we doing on off road?" Like he said he's not personally super familiar with racing off road. He doesn't do a lot of that. We've seen him at the track a lot, and I
This is
said,
the CEO of Ford.
yeah. And I said, are we going to get, because at the time there was a rumor and there were sketches of like sort of an off-road Mustang, just like a Porsche Dakar, because he's going, I'm all in on Mustang. I want to develop that out like the 911 lineup, have different versions, and then have the GTD at the top of the chain. And I said, what about an off-road version like a Dakar? And he just said, yes. And then that was it. Like we didn't get into the details. I was like, huh, interesting. But now in recent interviews, he's saying there potentially could be like an off-road supercar. I don't know if he means like a GTD, sort of a 300 plus $1,000 version, but
Well, Ford's going back to Dakar and taking that quite seriously. You know, Land Rover is already going back to Dakar. 'Cause there's a new class in the Dakar Rally as well, which is more attuned to production cars,
yeah,
which is why they've now got the Defender Octa, which I drove earlier in the year, and then that will spawn a rally car. So you are getting into the off-road rally a little bit close to what you get in Le Mans, where you got to build a GTD Mustang to race at Le Mans. Now you might have to end up having to have like a road-going supercar to homologate it for
yeah.
Dakar as well.
Yeah, I
So
just didn't know if you've heard anything about that yet. I'm curious what they would have in the works, if it's something
I
sort of
I
under the
mean they could end
Mustang
up with a
platform, or do they
like
stick with like Bronco or
I remember doing the Dakar with, I think the new regs for Dakar in this particular class, they have to be fairly close to production. I remember doing the Dakar when they had the Mini there, and this Mini was bigger than a BMW X5. And I was like, is there anything Mini genuinely about that? And there was sort of, I don't know, it was like door handle or like door
yeah,
handle
the
mechanism or
logo,
something,
the
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 logo.
emblem, the emblem.
So I think with the new regs, it's got to get a bit closer, but would lend itself to like a Bronco Raptor R or something like that. And then if it's a space frame change, like they have Ford has a company called Multimatics, which actually built the Ford GT, built the GTD, and they would probably be in line as well for that sort of thing, which
Yeah.
is kind of not an official Ford company, but kind of is.
Anyway, I that wasn't really what we planned on talking about, but they had just dropped off the Ranger Raptor, and then separately, I've got an invitation to drive a GTD with Ford. So I got to figure out when we can.
Oh,
When
with that, the Palm Springs invitation, yeah, I think we
yeah,
got
I
the same
think.
thing.
Are you gonna go out to that? Is that?
I, I can't take all the plum jobs, Matt. I think
Well,
I'll wait till we get one. Wait till we get one in, but it
we'll
looks
see,
cool.
because they
It looks
said
very
come out
cool.
to Palm Springs and drive a Mustang GTD, and of course I was like awesome, and then I called Adam Carolla and I said, I know you're a fan of the GTD. Do you want to drive it in Palm Springs? And he said, on the track? And I said, no, I don't think so. He's like,
Is it not at thermal? It's not at the
It's
track.
not at thermal. So he's like, what am I going to do at 47 miles an hour in Palm Springs in a
Yeah,
Mustang?
I didn't realize that. In which case, I'm less concerned that I'm not going if it's not on the track. Because a car like
Yeah.
that, you have to
So
drive it on the track. So,
that might be a little bit tougher
so you're
sell.
just going to
But
go and pose. You're just going to spend a day posing, basically,
yeah, just going to go there and just take pictures of the
in
car.
120-degree heat.
But, maybe get behind the wheel a little bit. All right. So one of the things we talked about last week was in Monterey, you got to grab a couple of interviews, just at manufacturer's booth at the Quail. So you guys are going to hear all the wonderful Quail sounds in the background, champagne and cash. You hear the background noises of bubbles and wealth and fancy music
Filthy
going on.
lucre.
But
Actually,
let's
the
talk a little
Bugatti
bit about that.
champagne. I was handed a glass. I know I was handed a glass of the Bugatti champagne at the end of the day, and it was. I don't know what it was, but it did taste a cut above the traditional automotive fare.
Well, so Bugatti would be French, and
Well, champagne is French.
so they would have to have the better version
The better
of,
version, yeah.
right?
I don't.
Because people
I
hand
think
out
most.
champagne all the time, and it's like a prosecco or some sort of bubbly rosé or whatever. They just call it champagne, but
I think the I think the Bugatti champagne would have to be from
that's my point.
Champagne, and it would have to be a certain house. Most of these brands actually have partnerships with. I know I was there with, Cadillac now has a wine partnership, and I know that Infiniti has the same. I'm sure that Bugatti, Aston Martin used to have a champagne partnership. I'm sure that Bugatti has a particular champagne house, and that they partner with.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that you got some of the actual champagne. Let's talk about Bugatti. So Bugatti came out. Uh, they love the Quail, and I think you'll hear that in the interview how much they really do enjoy the Quail. Allows them to connect with their customers. I would say quite a few of their customers attend that event. And I think they do like a drive and a couple of other things
Yeah,
specific for
there
their
is.
customers while they're in town.
But it was kind of funny. I was saying that, I think you're invited too. There is the way it happens is all these little parties all over Car Week, and they're basically for customers. And then if you're media like us, they like say, we'll kind of let you in, and you know,
Yeah.
don't drink too much. And but the Bugatti one, the Lamborghini one, and the Bentley one had invites to that. Bugatti one, not so much. It's like that. That's the none of
Yeah, we
the
don't want
great and
media
washed will
slumming
not
it in
be.
there with everyone buying $3.5 million vehicles.
Exactly. But it was nice to sit down with, and we're going to hear it now, but the Bugatti had the Briard, which is a one-off creation named after a horse, which was, I believe, a favorite of Ettore Bugatti. And we'll talk about this in the interview, but they're going to do, this is a new program called Solitaire.
Yeah,
And Bugatti is basically going to create two unique creations a year for its very best customers. So they don't want, and he talks about this in the interview, but they don't want people to flip these cars. So
yeah,
these are people who already own several Bugattis, probably some pre-war cars as well, some modern ones, and they'll have effectively six in production at any one time because they take 3 years to realize. So a year to sit down and draw this thing, a year then presumably to test it, and a year then to get it homologated and ship it. So it's a 3 year project, which obviously requires some patience. And I know a lot of people with a lot of money don't like patience, so that's kind of interesting in itself. But I think we're going to hear in a moment. But what I found particularly interesting, he said he'd met, I think it's 70 or 80 customers. And Bugatti only has, the sort of modern Bugatti only has about 800 customers. So he's got more than 10% of his customer base in one place at one time.
yeah.
And I don't think there's anywhere in the world that you would have that concentration of customers. And while I was there, they had, so they had one of the US team had these Bugatti sunglasses. I think they're $1,200, and they had a big Bugatti badge above above
Yeah.
where your nose sits. And they were selling I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on, and just a lot. I mean, it's crazy. I think 10% of Bugatti's customer base is on the same, in the same golf course or on the same golf hole. It's
Right.
mad.
Or at whatever house they're renting for their
Yeah.
party or at the Quail. So just think of just sort of the net worth of that 10% of the customers.
What's the insurance bill on that party? It's crazy. But
Right?
I think this is part of it as well. It's not, and this is the whole idea of buying a classic car, as you well know, or a Bugatti, is you get access to a club that you otherwise couldn't. So it's, you've bought this Bugatti, now you're invited to this house, and suddenly you, billionaire of X, is now in a room with billionaire of Y. So it becomes this big networking event, and suddenly deals are done, and then the $10 million you just paid for your car is kind of written off as a networking expense. It's like a whole ecosystem that has only got like a limited touch, so only to a certain extent, associated with a motor vehicle.
It's interesting that you say that. I agree completely. I think there are relationships that are built and deals that are done at events like that make sense. And a guy like Craig Jackson, who I love, and he's all in on Bugatti. He had a Veyron. He custom built a Chiron. Went to France, did a drive, took delivery of it, and then showed a Type 57 at Pebble Beach. I think he wants to develop those relationships. I remember years ago in my web development days, a client of mine was a big Los Angeles law firm, and the partners being responsible for bringing in new business. And they had offices in New York and Boston and stuff as well. And I would talk to one of the partners, and he would just say that he would just book first class tickets to the different offices almost every week, and with no real agenda. It's just because the people he would meet on that plane, he ended up signing like the two biggest clients that they have. Like, don't quote me on it, but like Oracle, like signed like Oracle, like obviously like a division of it. Like they handled, I don't know, all the employment contracts, or they handled like.
I'm pretty sure Larry Ellison doesn't fly Delta. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like the real estate contracts. He sat next to another lawyer who's like the head of legal of like a certain division, like real estate, right? And he's like, yeah, this is all the stuff we own in real estate. We need a firm to power through this stuff. And he's like, great. Now he's trying to multi-million-dollar retainer just by jet back and forth.
I remember sitting on a Virgin flight in my youth. I must have been like 23, 24, and somebody else's diamonds, like Virgin upper class, sat at the front there. In the days when they had a bar, they kind of all got a bit serious now, but in those days you had a bar, and everybody used to sit at the bar and get drunk on Virgin Flames. It was great. And I remember talking to these two people from this new startup company called eBay.
Yep.
And they were like trying to explain the business model, and I was like, oh yeah, sounds a bit odd. But anyway.
Yeah.
We digress. Should we listen to the interview?
Okay, so who was the interview with? I don't even want to attempt to pronounce his name.
So this was the interview with Christophe Pierchon. My wife will hate me for my French accent, but Christophe Pierchon, who is the president, his LinkedIn says president chez Bugatti Automobile SAS. So he is because Bugatti now was bought out because of Volkswagen Group, but then it was bought out by Rimac. So it's now a joint venture between Rimac, what was effectively the EV manufacturer, and then Porsche has a big stake as well.
Right.
And so, this is where the ownership sits. But I think from a public facing perspective, it looks and sounds no different. And Christophe has been there a long time. Charming guy, as you'll hear, and working hard that day.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into that right now.
Christophe Pierchon, thank you for joining us on the Edmunds CarCast podcast. Exciting day here at Quail. What's the big appeal of this event for you? Is it obviously a chance to meet customers, but how many Bugatti customers turn up to an event like this?
So it's a huge event for us because when you think that there is about 3,000 people coming here, I would say we have here not only American customers, but also European customers coming to Quail or Pebble Beach, because that's now one of the rare places where you can see some new products, high luxury cars, and for sure also collectors. No? So that's for us a very busy day. We just met, I would say today, at least about 70, 80 customers of Bugatti. And when you look that we have produced since now the early years, the 20 last years of Bugatti, about 1,050, 1,060 cars, something like that. And it's only going to about 820 customers. No? And when you imagine that 10% of them are here today,
right there.
not bad.
And do you get a lot of crossover correlation between people who have the old cars displaying at Pebble Beach on Sunday and then coming here on Friday and maybe specifying a new car?
Exactly. We have really brand ambassadors which are not only interested in the new car, but discover the Bugatti brand with the Veyron or the Chiron, and then they became addicts to the brand and started a real collection of Bugatti also with pre-work cars and so on.
And today, obviously, we're seeing a bespoke car. Is this your direction of travel? Do you see doing more and more of these one-offs now? I mean, it's extraordinary how the market has exploded.
It's a very small niche which we want now to go in, and the feedback we received today was great with our Solitaire program, because the Brouillard is the first car made out of this Solitaire program, which is really one unique car for a unique customer. So, and we are trying to connect our new cars with the history, and today is really a good example. Taking the name Brouillard was named after the favorite horse from Ettore Bugatti, and it was the idea from the customer. So we mix that together, work together with our designer to create a really unique car for him.
And how many years has this been in development? What if I came to you today and said, okay, I want a one-off Bugatti, I want to make
I would say we will make such a project 2 times per year.
Right.
But between the idea to the delivery, I would say about 3 years.
Okay. So you have to have some patience.
Because you need about 1 year to work with the team on the car, what it could be, and so on, and then 2 years development to have the real car available. This one will be delivered next year.
And when we look at the market today, we're seeing Lamborghini having a $3.5 million, only 29 examples. You have this. Even anything like a Rebelto now is $750,000. Everything has got more and more expensive. Do you see a cap on this, or is there a natural cap on what people will spend?
I don't think so. And this is also the request from them, because they want uniqueness. They want something which nobody else has. And this rarity has a price. No?
Yeah.
And that's also what raised really the value of the car over the years. If there is only one, then for sure when it appears on the market, bam. But we are qualifying to make such a project with a very small circle of customers, very loyal customers since many years, which have many cars and so on. And with people where we are sure that it will not be for gambling, we want that it keeps that in the collection, but he's pleased to invest in that because he's sure it will keep the value.
Maybe it'll be a Pebble Beach, the Concours in 30 years' time, or
Why not?
Yeah,
Why not?
it's a fascinating. In terms of the propulsion, we talked a lot, obviously with Rimac Association, everything else. What's interesting, last came here 2-3 years ago, you would have seen a lot of EVs. Today, almost none.
Yeah. And this is also a feedback which we receive from our customers when we prepare the development of the Tourbillon, because naturally coming with Rimac together, it would be natural to have a full electric car. But the direct feedback from our customer was, please, let us the emotion of ICE. And we did that with the W16 in the past, but we wanted to change to get to the V16, which is naturally aspirated, and to have a big acceleration also with low rev. We use then the electric power, but the electric is there to support the ICE, and it's not the only way to propulse the car.
So do you think for this end of the market, we are a long way away from EV? I mean, obviously you'll be legislated potentially in Europe, potentially in China, but
I would say so long we will be able to homologate the car with an ICE, at least hybrid, we will do that.
Yeah. And the US maybe forever, who knows? So
who knows?
That's crazy how I've purchased it.
Yeah.
And what else are customers saying? I mean, it's interesting when you look around, you're not just competing against traditional brands. There's also a lot of the resto mod market is now also millions of dollars. How do you see the whole picture changing?
I would say that the market is always more explosive, always higher price demanding. Yeah. And to the end, they always want more uniqueness. And that's exactly the response with the Solitaire program. No?
Yeah.
And I see also what keeps the value of a car over years is also the authenticity. And how you keep the authenticity is to have a real connection with the history of the brand. And that was also one of the main purpose of our customers when he decided to go for the Brouillard, because he's now a real ambassador of the brand. You know very well the way you have a huge collection of artifacts from Rembrandt Bugatti, from Carlo Bugatti, and also from Bugatti cars. and he really wanted to interact the past with the future.
Yeah.
And I think this is the right decision, because you cannot only put a new shape on the chassis.
Yeah.
It needs to have a sense to be authentic, and this is what we match.
And this is what differentiates a lot of the Western brands with some of the startups and everything else, that sense of heritage. And
We have 116 years heritage and a huge. When you look how many type of cars Ettore Bugatti did in the past, we have an endless list of let's say inspiration.
yeah, for sure. Well, it's hugely exciting, and thank you. Appreciate your time today, and good luck. Good luck with the weekend.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a
Thank you very
pleasure.
much. Thanks.
Okay, great job. Super fascinating guy. I love it. Definitely on talking up sort of about the design, and we didn't get into like vehicle specs because they're bespoke things that they're doing now based off of some sort of existing chassis platform, as he mentioned into it. But 2 vehicles per year under the new specialty program,
Solitaire.
and like you said, takes 3 years to do, but they're starting to do like 2 a year. So I don't know that the how far the engineers are getting into it yet, when they're still probably in the design phase, other than the vehicle that they have there. But interesting, because we're seeing Gordon Murray doing something like this as well.
I think everybody, and
Everybody.
we'll turn on to Lamborghini after the break because we've got another interview to come. But it's just high margin. That you can go in, you can take an existing car. These cars will probably be built on, I believe, on the Tourbillon, or it's based on an existing road car, and then it's an aesthetic job really, rather than an engineering job. But then of course you've got to homologate it and crash it, and there's a lot of like legislative red tape, and then especially depending on where in the world it's going to end up. So there's all this stuff to do. But even when you've done all that, they're still very lucrative, and a great marketing tool as well. Because part of the deal for this car will be, we're going to take it to Quail, we're going to take it to Pebble Beach. This car will be shown off, and the Briar, and away you go. I mean, it was interesting to say that there basically is no ceiling to how much people are willing to pay. It was quite honest, because normally they're all like. Sometimes you do these interviews and they're all very kind of like PR trained, and it's like, well, our customers are very careful with their money and all the rest of it. It was like, no. There's no real ceiling.
And exclusivity. That's the thing now. You're buying exclusivity. There's a value on exclusivity. And to be fair, we do see the reward of that at the car auctions. Like the car auctions this year were phenomenal. I mean, prices were through the roof on so many things. But that exclusivity is worth, I don't know, the 5 times extra that you pay for some of these things.
I think that's right, and also it's that club bit again that in maybe in 30 years' time, that Briar will be on the lawn at the Pebble Beach Concours, because it will now be a classic car, and it will be there as a one of one Bugatti, and it will sit alongside the Atlantique from the 30s, and it will be heralded as this incredible one-off creation, and that's what you're buying into. So,
and it'll be worth $30 million.
And it'll be worth $30 million. And the other thing, of course, they were saying about nobody wants an EV, and I think it was Christoph, maybe as not part of the interview, but it was a couple of other people I was talking to Bugatti, and they were comparing it, because of course they're owned by Rimac, and as he points out, like now they're this Rimac thing. Well, everybody assumed then it would just be an EV. Well, they've had to wake up pretty quickly and say nobody wants one.
As he said, his customers didn't want it.
It's super interesting that they were this honest. I thought it was a really good interview, because nope. And I heard it talked about a lot about this whole watch analogy, that yes, your Apple Watch does a billion things, but doesn't give you that sense of design and engineering and craftsmanship that an IWC or a Rolex or a Patek Philippe does. So I think it's exactly the same in the car thing. They're just, if everything's an EV, then it's and there's the long-term longevity of the batteries that we've talked about a million times on the show. So there's a lot of reasons why people want a gas car.
Yeah. Okay, but knowing that, Lamborghini is going in a little bit different direction. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll talk about that. Okay, Lamborghini. So you sat down with was it the head of design?
This is the head of design called Mitja Borkert, who is ex-Porsche. It's funny because now Lamborghini, of course, is owned by the Volkswagen Group. It sits alongside Porsche in their lineup, although they don't now. Well, they sort of have Bugatti because Porsche is still involved, but it's kind of interesting because Stefan Winkelmann, who's been, who's long-serving CEO, he kind of went away and came back. He's sort of German Italian, and then Mietja is also German, ex-Porsche. And I kind of made that, it sort of made a complete hash of the start of the interview because I started to, firstly, I couldn't remember how the hell you pronounce the car. And then I sort of asked him how you do an Italian accent, completely forgetting, of course, that he's German. But a super nice guy. I mean, he's had a really fun career, and I think he just recognizes that he's got this like amazing job, and he has to just keep reinventing Lamborghinis, and that's kind of a nice legacy thing.
I like this interview. I like this guy. I love his riz, as the kids would say. I think he's a charismatic guy that really does exude passion for what he does. And without even getting into the specs of the car, just getting into how it's different in design and colors and how each one is unique. It's pretty good. It's pretty special. But let's talk about the car for a second. Let's tell us what the car is.
You're not going to ask me to pronounce it again,
No, it's the Phenomenal. I figured that out.
Phenomeno, not the phenomenal. Your brain wants to say phenomenal. This is the Phenomeno. Phenomeno. That's why I can pronounce it first time around. Phenomeno. Which of course is a Lamborghini. It was a fighting bull because every Lamborghini is named after a fighting bull. So this is Lamborghini, a bit like the Bugatti thing. So Lamborghini's kind of suddenly cottoned onto something a few years ago that if we take our V12 car, we can then turn it into these kind of like limited edition creations. So on the old Murcielago, you used to have the, or then I think the Reventon kicked it off 2007. I'm just looking at my notes. That was based on the Murcielago. Then it had the Aventador, and we had the 2021 Countach based on the Aventador.
Right.
Now the Rebelto, which is Lamborghini's new sort of flagship production car, that's now the base of the Phenomeno. So what you basically do is it's a kit of parts, isn't it? You take the Rebelto, which you've done all the engineering on, and then you say, okay, which are the bits that we can't meddle with? Well, this, and this. And then they take that and then they redesign the body and then they tweak it just enough for bragging rights. I think in this instance, they've got like about 60 horsepower more overall, which is probably manufacturing tolerances when the thing's got over 1,000 ponies.
Yeah.
And then you say, right, this is unique. We're going to build 29 of them and we know exactly who's going to buy them. So they're all sold by the time they arrive at Quail. And they're $3.5 million. I mean, a Rebelto, we had one in the office a couple of weeks ago. Starts about 600 grand. The car that we had, $750,000. So you got a multiple of 5 pretty much to then arrive at this car.
Yeah.
And again, what are you paying for? Well, does it perform better? Nah, not really. What is it? What are you actually buying? You're buying exclusivity. 29 made, 29
the uniqueness,
sold.
the exclusivity. You heard in the interview. You will hear in the interview.
Well, you haven't heard yet because we haven't played it, but
But talking about the colors and how basically each one will be unique. I mean, there's 29, so it's not too difficult to make 29 different colors.
Well, it's also going to get sits down and said part of that is that again we're talking about the club bit that the chief designer of Lamborghini sits down and says, right, Matt, what particular shade of blue are you looking for? And I did sort of try and ask him about would you say no to stuff if you had particularly lurid or horrible combinations, and he sort of didn't quite answer that one. I also pointed out there was good margin in this stuff. He didn't like that either. But
he didn't like that either.
He didn't like that either. But yeah, I mean,
he had a great response to it, though. He had a very tactful response.
Yeah,
going,
I liked it.
He was like, "I'm on the design side, but I appreciate business. We're still in a business." So yeah, he's got a good response to it.
Yeah, well, he was a good character.
All right, so why don't we get into it? Why don't we just play the interview?
Okay.
All right. Here we go.
Okay, joined by Mitja Borkert, head of design at Lamborghini. It's a pretty enviable job. Here at Quail, you're debuting the how do I pronounce it with an Italian accent? Fenomeno, which is a bull, another famous Lamborghini.
It's another fighting bull, yes, of course, yeah. First of all, hi to everyone. Hi, Alistair. Yeah, so great to be here with you.
Very much. So this is going to be 29 cars for 29 customers. Are they already sold, or is this?
I mean, here our chairman Stefan Winkelmann just announced in our press conference. Yes, of course, all of them are sold.
Yes,
and it will be my pleasure then later on to do the specs with all the customers.
Oh, so you will individually sit down?
Yes. It's a promise that we have. We kept it already with the Sian project because the Sian of some years ago we created 19 Roadster and 63 Coupe in different colors. So also here with the Phenomenal, I'm expecting really, really nice colors. The one that we see here is a new yellow. I mean, we always come to the Quail Lodge. We always come to California, so we always think then on the lounge color because here's the sunshine. 11 o'clock is always the sun is coming out.
That's right.
We get a nice sunburn. We're walking around the car. But the yellow, it's called Giallo Crescio, and that is a new yellow with a lot of sparkle inside. So it's really, it is really igniting.
It's quite close to the Lamborghini green, or the Lamborghini green as I think of it from the past. Like thinking about the Countach and things like that from the 70s, it's quite close to that. But you're calling it a yellow, not a green.
We are never standing still, also in terms of color. So with every car that we create, there will always be new color. We have already 400 different colors in our palette. So this is one more beautiful color.
And if you have 29 cars, do you sit down with every customer and say, well, actually, sort of Dirk in Germany has this color and German America has this, and now you must have something different? Or
it's pretty much like that. Yeah. So I mean, in the end of the day, at one point I will see all the cars together. I was fantastic at the time with the Countach, for example.
Yes.
We had the production, and then for one moment I see most of them together until like your child is then leaving. Going to Japan, to the US, to Europe, wherever. Yeah. So in the end of the day, this will be fun too, because this is the next part of the process to do the 29 cars. We have already, let's say, a couple of teasing images, to where we have created also ourselves our dream colors. But it will be for sure fun, because for sure there will be some customers saying, I want to have my own color. Yeah, so it will be fun.
Yeah, and there's some good margin in that as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, as a designer, I'm for sure looking more into the beauty of the things.
And do you ever sit down and say, somebody comes with a car, you just think, this is going to look terrible? Do you have those conversations?
No, I would say I have my own conversations with myself. I mean, in the end of the day, I know that we have always high expectations to fulfill. It's clear when you create a Lamborghini, no? It's clear that here, I don't know how many thousand people were watching this press conference. So everyone has his opinion about how a Lamborghini should look like.
Yes.
So for sure, there is a lot of pressure. I'm always putting away this pressure because otherwise I could not live, I could not be creative. So I wouldn't say I don't care. I care for sure. But it is something I need to take away, like an athlete. When you want to do a good performance. Yeah. You take away this pressure.
You have to put the blinkers on a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm for sure very critical about what we do. We are perfectionists for sure, because until not the last millimeter is solved in the best possible way in the timing that you have, you are not satisfied.
I was talking to the head of Corvette design last night. He said the same thing, that designing a Corvette is like a massive privilege, but also like such a pressure because there is so many opinions and so much controversy. Everything that goes with it.
You can imagine, yeah. So it's about to unveil, and then you want to have this wow effect, yeah. So it's always something unexpected also for us, because you have your plan, you have your idea. I mean, in the beginning when we start a project like this, of course we do crazy sketches, we march ahead, but at one point I'm always taking the team, saying, guys, wait a minute. What is our idea for this car? Yeah. So, and for me, I came up with this idea, hyper elegant, as a term, and I think is what the car is expressing. Is the hyper elegant. It's a very elegant design, very muscular shapes, almost like an athlete coming out of the gym, but of course, with the sharp lines of a Lamborghini, being authentic also with our silhouette.
Do you think a lot of cars today, particularly in let's say the luxury market, are almost over-designed? There's so much design, and you look at some of the older cars here, and they're elegant, they're simple, and this. I know there's a lot of aero work here, but it is a slightly more. I agree with you. It's a slightly more elegant look. Is it more about protecting its longevity?
Look, Lamborghini for me has to work from. It has to be first of all recognizable from far away. So I mean, in the end of the day, Lamborghini is always an iconic piece of art. The Miura is iconic. The Countach is iconic. Yeah. So I see our cars. It was my first experience seeing Lamborghini. You see them from far away. You see. I remember I came here to the highway number 1. I saw a Countach arriving, and you can see that car. You can recognize it from a mile away. When I'm working in Italy, when I see our Lamborghinis arriving, when I drive to work every morning, I can see from a mile away there's a Lamborghini arriving. So this is my first criteria, that we create something that you can recognize from far away. My criteria is if I'm among all the other super sports cars that are all very nice cars, but I want that the people recognize a Lamborghini. If I have one Lamborghini parked among the other, you can always recognize a Lamborghini. So this is about the silhouette, it's about the special architecture, it's about the inclination of the side windows. So this is my number one thing that I'm watching.
Because you don't have once you've drawn in those touch points, you don't have a lot of creative freedom. Once you put the windows in, once you put the wedge in, it kind of restricts your freedom a little bit.
It is, yes, but in my opinion, if a company like Lamborghini, if we have this definition, this is not a boundary, but it is a creative path where you're able to dance. Yes. Let me speak about.
We're all dancing the tango, and it's how we do that.
Let me take music as an idea. Look, I see it always like this. Lamborghini, we are now a brand, we are now a band, we are now an artist that is playing music since 62 years. Yeah. So, and
you're the Rolling Stones, perhaps.
No. We are much younger. Yeah. So we are more. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Depeche Mode. Maybe some of your listeners will not know them, but for me, we need to play different rhythms. We need to play a different beat with every project. So the Temerario that is standing right next to us here is having a different form language, design language than the Phenomenal, and the Phenomenal is different to the Revuelto. So in the end of the day, we always play a different song, but because I like music, when I go to a show, when I see a concert, I want to see the tension. I want to see that the show is building up. Yes. So there will be I don't know, in the middle of the show, peak point, and then there's another song coming. So I see it a little bit like this with our cars. So we have to create a Lamborghini, but always something different. And speaking about music, there's
I know now we're gonna be
music arriving here.
I'm also interested. Last year when you showed the Temerario, you showed it in quite a dark color. I believe it was like a matte blue color. I forget the exact name. This year you've come with the bright orange. Is that I mean, obviously that's deliberate, but what's the thinking?
Yeah, it's the same. It is this holistic approach that we have. So we always, it's not just designing a car and then I don't know, you go to present. So for me, there is a story that has to be holistic.
Yeah.
So last year, because the Temerario was the new car last year, and we wanted to underline the puristic lines of that car, and this matte blue color was really fitting perfectly to the shape of the Temerario, because it made it look really like a piece of design, very consistent and very, let's say, like a design piece. The Phenomenal is the opposite. The Phenomenal is a car, 3.5 million. We are also here, being in the Quail Lodge, was clear at 11 o'clock there will be the sun out.
Yes.
So, and this yellow, that is incredible, beautiful yellow, is really like switched on. Yeah. And so this year we are celebrating our iconic colors. So we have a new yellow. Yeah. So this is a new yellow, but then we have also Revuelto in a very nice livery, green, black, carbon fiber, white lines.
Great.
With the Italian flag, with the red brake caliper, and the Temerario we are showing in the Alleggerita pack, which is the lightweight package in orange. That is also fitting very well to the Temerario.
We just had the Rebelto at the Edmunds test track, and this was actually the fastest non-EV we've ever tested. It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Very packed.
No, the phenomenon is a car. I want to add also that we are celebrating 20 years of Centro Stile. So we are now having the 20 years of design decisions from Sant'Agata Bolognese. I can only invite everyone that is having holiday in Italy, come by, take a look at Sant'Agata, visit our museum, visit our factory. I think it's a great place to be.
Sounds like a nice invite. Thank you so much for your time. Really enjoying the car, and this is always a great spectacle. I say we recently had this on the test track, and it was sensational. So
Okay, thank you,
thank
Alistair.
you as always.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, have a good day.
Have a good time. Yeah, and see you in the future.
Thank you.
Okay,
Start saving.
Okay, there you go. I thinking about it more though, the jump from a $700,000 vehicle to getting the unique version that's $3.5 million. How many $700,000 versions do they plan on doing anyway? It's not like they're going to make 10,000 of those.
No, I think off the top of my head, I haven't got the figures in front of me. Lamborghini, because the Urus is the biggest selling Lamborghini, the SUV, and then
the new one, right? The replacement, the Tema Mario.
Yeah, so the Tema Mario, the range now, like you've got the Tema Mario, which is the new Huracan, which
and that'll be their mainstream.
Yeah, that will be the mainstream, and that in itself has got more expensive, so they're like 300 grand plus. And so I think of the sports cars, I want to say Lamborghini still makes about 6,000 a year. I think that's about right. And then it's sort of, or is it slightly less than that now? Anyway, you're going to see slightly more sales of the Temerario, and then the Rebelto will be less. So you're talking hundreds a year. And
right, if you
so
said
you've already got exclusivity.
If you said, "Hey, we're going to make 5,000 of those cars, and then 29 of the $3.5 million version," I get it. But if you're going to make 600 of those cars and 29 of the $3.5 million version, that's a pretty big jump. But as he pointed out, and as the Bugatti guy pointed out, it is that exclusivity that makes it so much more special for that customer and the value of that car.
While you were just talking, I was looking at like the Aventador, which was one of the forerunners, this V12, V12 built between February 2011, September 2022, 11,500 built. Now, that's too many to have the exclusivity. It's more than you think because it runs for 11 years. To be honest, that's more than I thought. So they're building basically 1,000 a year, pretty much.
Yeah, that's way more than I thought.
Which, I remember people saying about the Ferrari F40, they built, I think, 1,100 Ferrari F40s. That's too many to be, genuinely exclusive and have this kind of crazy value. Now, I think F40s have become so iconic that the values are going up and up anyway. But it took a while to get there, and it's still, 1,100 is a lot. 11,000 is way too many. And although they do lots of like iterations, roadsters, coupes, all sorts of like special editions to try and bring exclusivity, overall it's still too many. Whereas if you're saying in this case, well, we're going to take the Rebelto, of which we are going to build 10,000 over the next decade here, but we will do 29 of this. Again, you're protecting your investment.
Yeah.
Because I don't think your $750,000 Rebelto is going to be worth $3 million in 5 years' time or 10 years' time because there's just too many.
Yeah, everybody's got one.
Whereas your $3.5 million Fenomeno is going to be worth, probably north of that. It depends, right? We've seen it. Sometimes you get it wrong. We've seen things like the McLaren Senna. Everybody thought it was going to be worth millions and millions. At the moment, it's not. There's that you can get it wrong. But generally speaking, a brand like Lamborghini knows what it's doing. Don't do too many. 29. We'll spread them around the world. We know exactly the customers that are going to buy them.
So the risk here, though, is unlike the Bugatti, who's unsure about the longevity of EV and hybrid, Lamborghini is still trying to sell a high-performance car. And right now, performance gets an add-on through hybrid technology. So,
well, that's also true of Bugatti. I think Tourbillon is going to be hybrid.
Yeah.
What they're going to, and they both use it in the same way. They're basically saying we've got a massive V12 engine, or it's W16, isn't it, in the Bugatti, and then certainly the Bugatti, it's naturally aspirated, and it's like, okay, well, how do we deal with that low end torque issue? Well, we have electric motors, so but they're much much smaller batteries. You're not got 100, 200 kilowatt hour batteries. These are small batteries that are used just to support the gas car. So I think, and because so much of the market now is hybrid, I think it's much less of a risk than building a pure EV.
Except there's still some risk in the collectability of it, because in 30 years ago on the lawn on Pebble Beach, is the hybrid system even working? Did it just go out under its ice? Under the engine power, like how is it going to work? Which I think is one of the things that hurt the value of the Senna. There wasn't necessarily a good program in place of going, how do we replace batteries? LaFerrari arguably as well, where I believe Porsche is already investing in that, going, we understand the collectability. Now we need to make sure anything we do that's hybrid technology has aftermarket parts available, support available, even if they partner with a third-party company that's going to supply batteries or certain components, for decades down the road. What do you do with Lamborghini or Bugatti or McLaren Senna or P1 or like what's going to happen to that?
I think you've got to believe like 20, 30 years down the road that the market will sort this out, because also like there's going to be so much more electrification. Everything's going to be hybrid. The expertise and knowledge is going to be better in 30 years time. So you got to imagine they'll sort it out. I think it's for me, it's more of a challenge with the pure EVs, just because of the scale of the batteries and then how much they cost. If you're talking about a pretty modest little battery in a hybrid system, feels less of a concern. And frankly, everybody's doing it now. So I think the market will correct.
A good point. You mentioned Rimac and how they're involved on the EV side, and they have this incredible performance EV supercar, but not selling a lot.
Well, also it was there, and I said, where is it? And they said, yeah, it's here, but we didn't even bother putting it on display. It just seems the market. I know Pininfarina had the Battista, isn't it, which was based on the Rimac, and nobody's. Yeah. I don't know how many they're selling. It's people just don't want it, and I think this is we've talked about EVs so much on the show that this is the problem. You got to create a market, unless you completely legislate for it and say you cannot buy something else, which, let's face it, China and Europe to a certain extent are doing. If America's going out on a different route of saying we're not going to legislate for this, buy what you want, then it's harder.
A quick search on, because I remember seeing something on this. So just looking at the Rimac Nevera, I think the plan was to make about 150 cars, but I think they've only made about 50 or delivered 50 to customers.
I'm surprised. It's surprised as many as 50, and then the Battista, the Pininfarina Battista, which I drove, was spun off the Rivera. It uses a lot of the same technology, but it's a bit prettier, from Pininfarina. Yeah. So, it's and maybe in 50 years' time, will that be on Pebble Beach as the first electric hypercar? Maybe maybe that and the Battista, because they were so exclusive and because they were kind of era defining. You can kind of see it. So,
it's going to be a tough one. I think people have invested so much money into those when they're buying them that they will figure out ways to make those things survive.
Yeah. It's good keeping the chemistry though. It's all, I don't profess, I'm no chemist, but I know there's a lot of battery chemistry that, if it just sits there for 40 years, what do you do?
What do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thanks for that. I think those interviews were great. A different perspective from just getting into the details of the cars and the specs of the cars. We can have plenty of that information. You mentioned the Lamborghini. You guys got it out onto the test track, not the Fenomeno, not the 29 made version, but the
just
Revolto,
the $750,000 version, which our insurers always love when we ring them up and say we have a high value vehicle.
So that one you guys got onto the Edmunds test track. So looking forward to seeing that. And let's just say it's quick.
It's the fastest non-EV we've ever tested. So
All right.
Yeah,
There you go.
it's all good.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Is there anything else we're missing? What else is on the
No, I think next week we will probably move on from Car Week and start talking about cars that we can all actually afford.
Maybe we'll
for
see.
once, maybe
Maybe. Well,
come back down to earth.
yeah. All right. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Until then, keep the air in the spare and the bag in the wheel.